Paul McNally here, and I am going to show you the source of some satellite information in the Boyne Valley that I think points to a different configuration of the Boyne at the time that the monuments were built at the boinne site. And in my theory, this was more like almost like a river delta type landscape. And I suppose starting with this image, you can see that on the eastern end, in this location here, we've got a very strong feature that is connecting back to the Boyne, beyond the bend in the Boyne. We have indisputable existing water features in this kind of a linear arrangement. So that's that feature, and you can see this existing pair of ponds as well. And between those two, you've got a very strong set of color differentials that suggest that if that water feature were bigger at some stage, it would almost connect up with that. You've got a very strong light color embankment running along here potentially, and you can see how that extends on this Apple Maps image around one of our features here. So that eastern half of my theory, I think, is quite clear on this. Now when you combine that with the Google Earth 2005, no, that's 2005. This is Apple Maps, the current Apple Maps. We begin to see strong features in the landscape that support the argument for the western section. So if we add in this western end, so that you can just see there where I'm kind of highlighting that. And it's impossible, of course, to be specific about exactly where along this part a stream or water feature might run. But I think it is fair, if we accept that that is definitively a water feature, it had to come from somewhere. And I think it's fair to say that given that that is a water feature, and there is some anomaly here, you can see that actually there's a few different potential tributaries. So this mightn't have been one single river, this might have been kind of a boggy swamp with various tributaries running through it that connected these points up, and you can see where they were stronger. And potentially maybe back here where the river split, there might have been several islands with tributaries kind of splitting and running through it. So that kind of is my course of that water feature. And if I put my best guesstimate about where I think that is, so this kind of heavy black line is kind of the idea. And I don't think it was all one. If you look at the width of the Boyne and see how the Boyne splits and these points in the current configuration. So this is exactly what's happening there. You've got here at times, where the river breaks down. So you've got these little tributaries. The river kind of shatters. It splits into a mill race here. So I think it's quite likely that this arrangement where the river breaks down is what would have been occurring at the time within this zone. So maybe this wider zone where it's less defined, you might have had a series of these small islands within a series of streams. And if we overlay, you can see where the monuments are in relation to this feature, and we'll just highlight some of those. So these are the main monuments that are currently visible above ground, and these are the recent ones, Dronehenge, etc., that are in this line along what would have been an island within a kind of a Boyne delta at the time. So that is what I think might have been the context at the time of these monuments. And there's a more tenuous argument, and not knowing the exact topography. If we had a series of contours of this whole site, you might be able to look at the rationale of that. But also, what's going on here is potentially an upper course again, and begin to argue towards a third zone, which is along here, that might also contribute to this. When you overlay the Google Earth 2005 and you want to think about my extrapolation for this second course or wider course, it's very strong on that set of maps. If you look at that water feature, and you can see this very dark pattern, which implies an earlier kind of, I suppose, extrapolation of that as a water feature, and this as an embankment, this light edge, which if we had topographical levels might correspond very clearly with a kind of an upper ridge that runs along that kind of a line. And then this is all your river valley below that cut-off line, and which puts that feature and that feature on this ridge, and almost that feature, 1, 2, 3 features overlooking this landscape. So that water feature, and if we take it that that and that are similar, remnants of a high water table, then you have a very strong case for these 3 courses, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.